What is going on, my guys? My name is Alejandro Salomon, and as I told you before, we're doing our financial courses right now. The first thing is going to be real estate, but this episode is going to be point one, if you will, the one before the actual course, and it's about debt. A lot of people think that getting in debt is going to destroy your life. We have that stigma. All of our grandparents, all of our parents, all of our uncles, everybody that's older than you, probably all of your teachers said, do not get in debt. That is a huge mistake. But what if I told you that if you really got into the right debt, you can make so much money and your returns can be explosive? Wouldn't you like to get in debt? Yeah, me too, exactly. And I learned this a little too late, unfortunately, but not for you. I'm here to teach you how debt can benefit you and your financial life right now when applied the right way. Another thing I want to talk about is also stopping the ignorance from the world online. This is why also this video is important for that reason, because there's a lot of people that don't realize whenever you buy a house or whenever you buy a property and you owe money to the bank, people are like, that's not even your property. You still owe money to the bank, bitch. Well, the problem with that is, forget about the insult because it's not insulting. What you're doing when you're commenting stuff like that is you're doing two things. One, showing how ignorant and stupid you are. And the other one is you're still passing on that negative message on debt, which is not only making you a dumbass, but you're making other people dumbasses. And we're trying to stop that right now. So I try to separate debt into two different kinds of debt. As far as I'm talking about, there's so many different kinds of debt and so many ways of making money with debt, and so many people do it in different ways. I'm giving you the big grasp in this whole subject so that you start to understand. And if you want to get more detailed, you can do your own research, or I'm sure at some point we're going to touch into more details when it comes to debt. There are two types of debt that I want to talk about today. One, debt without income, and the other one is debt with income. Debt without income is pretty simple. Just like right now, I bought this house, I went to the bank and I told them, can you loan me some money so that I can buy the house? Let's say that the house was $1 million and I put $500,000 down and they gave me another $500,000 as a loan. Now, there's nothing wrong with this debt, but not a lot of people are equipped to survive this debt. Why? In the long run, it's a great place to be because in the long run, for the most part, property is going to go up in value, right? Everybody knows that. But if you stop making your mortgage payments, if you stop making that money that's allowing you to pay that rent because nothing else is helping you, then in 3 months, the bank's going to come in, foreclose your house, take it away from you, and then you're going to end up with a little bit of your money back, or probably in some cases, nothing. So watch out. I made that mistake. I bought my first house. The first thing you do when you get money is you go and do all the stupid things that everybody told you. And then I quickly realized, man, if I don't have income coming every single month at this level, I shouldn't have a house because it's expensive. You got to pay property taxes, you got to pay your mortgage, and then if something breaks, you got to put more money into it. So only for financially stable people, I recommend getting into this type of debt, not the other one. The other one is debt with income. I love debt with income. And the reason why I love debt with income is you go to the bank, you want to buy $1 million building, whether it's commercial or whether it's residential. Commercial is offices, restaurants, etc. Residential, pretty obvious, it's apartment buildings. That's where people live. And there's many different ways of breaking that into many different other branches, and I'm not going to do that. So we're going to make it super simple right now. When it comes to debt with income, you go to the bank, you say, I want to buy this one building for $1 million. It's a commercial building, people are paying me rent. That's amazing, and the reason why is you're putting $500,000, the bank's giving you another $500,000. But most likely, if the place is fully leased or you have a pretty good grasp on how much money you're getting paid, that debt not only is going to get paid by itself every single month along with your taxes and all of your expenses, you're also going to create revenue and income for yourself, additional income. And at the same time, you have appreciation on the property. Just like in the other example, both have appreciation, but this one has also income. It covers all of your expenses and it covers itself and it gives you more freedom. That's why if you're getting into any kind of debt at first in your life, do not go and do it with your house. Because if you lose your job, if you get injured, if you die, what happens to the person that's supposed to hold that asset? You're most likely going to lose a lot of money if you're not financially super stable. So your first investment in property should not be a house. Your first investment in property should be an income producing property. And I'm going to give you the examples of how debt can make you so much more money than people could possibly understand. And I'm going to start with the debt that has income because it's really simple. And this is something that not a lot of people can grasp and a lot of people don't understand. And this is why when people get rich from real estate, a lot of people go like, that's impossible. You can't make that much money in such a short amount of time. But let's start with the basics. I'm only talking about the United States right now. If you're from another country, don't worry about it. You can also invest in the United States, by the way. Number one, because of the interest rates. Interest rates right now, when I bought my house, I only paid 2.2% a year, which is incredible. For commercial properties, whether it's residential or actually just commercial, the debt gets a little bit more expensive because you're gonna be making money on it, and the banks know that, and they wanna make more money too. That means you're gonna be able to get a rate, instead of at the 2.2%, you're talking about 3.8 to 4.5% yearly interest payments. That means of the 1 million, you're gonna pay, let's say 4.5% of that just in interest alone to the bank a year on your mortgage. But the good news is, because you have tenants, that's gonna be paid by itself. You're not gonna have to put any out of your pocket. You're not gonna have to pay for your property taxes. You're not gonna have to do anything like that. The reason why I'm specifying that I'm talking about the United States is because there's other countries like in Mexico. You wanna get a loan and you're talking about 12%, 16% a year. That's gonna kill you. You go to Argentina and you're talking about 20 to 30% a year on a loan. That's unsustainable. I mean, there might be a way to make money in those situations, but not that I'm aware of until right now. So I'm talking about the easiest, most simplest type of debt that exists in the world, the cheapest, that will allow you to understand the concept. The other thing why you need to understand that we're making this video and we're talking about the US is simple. For the most part, or at least in every single one of the properties that I've invested, my properties appreciate at a 3x every 10 years. What does that mean? That means if 10 years ago in 2011, I bought a property for $1 million, in 2021, my property is worth $3 million or more. So this is a very important concept that I need you guys to understand and cement in your head. That's what we're gonna be using. That variable is staying here for these examples. So let's say that I go out there and I buy a building today for $1 million. And in 10 years, it's gonna be worth $3 million. That's a pretty good deal. Not only that, the rent is giving you income, which is fucking phenomenal. But let's say that you paid cash for that building. After you sold it, yeah, you made all of the money in those years, the 10 years, you were making all of that money. It's coming back to you except for expenses that you had to pay and property taxes that, all of the normal expenses that you have to pay. So you're making your rent, you're getting some money, and on top of that, at the end of it, you sold your property. You basically made 3 times your money. You had $1 million, now you have 3. That means a 3x return. Now I'm gonna give you a very dumb example right now. Let's say that you purchased that same property that was $1 million right now, and you only put down $500,000, and the bank is giving you $500,000 extra so that you can close on that property. The $1 million for your property are $500,000 from the bank, $500,000 from you, right? Let's think about that for a second and understand that concept. That means you're only out of pocket $500,000. Now, this whole property is gonna pay for itself through your tenants. You're not gonna have to make any payments, hopefully. You're not gonna be out of pocket. You're still gonna be producing income just like as if you paid the whole thing cash, except it's gonna be a little reduced, obviously, because you gotta pay the debt. There's no way around it. So let's say that 10 years go by and your property is worth now $3 million. Congratulations, you made it. You have a lot of money now. When you look at this scenario, what you have to look at is, if you purchase the property for $500,000, all you owe the bank is $500,000. So if you sold it for 3, you owe the bank $500,000, so 2.5, and please also know that you've been paying that debt for 10 years, so you probably owe less at that point. But let's just go with simple concepts right now, rounded numbers. And we're just only using rounded numbers so that it's easy for you to digest. Since you owe the bank $500,000, out of the $3 million that you made $2.5 million. Now you're gonna tell me, well, that's less than the $3 million that I made with $1 million. No. This is where everybody's wrong. This is the problem that I'm trying to solve here. If you sold that property for 3 and you're only pocketing 2.5, remember, you only put $500,000 in compared to the other case scenario. So now you made 5 times your money instead of 3. And the reason why is simple. You leverage yourself to $500,000, and then because you only came in with the $500,000, the rest of the equity is yours when it appraised. So when that property went up in value, that money's yours. So you made 5 times your money. 5 times 5, it's 25, $2.5 million of your $500,000. Instead of making 3 times your money, you made it 5 times. This is why debt is such a wonderful tool if you know how to use it. And these returns can be explosive. And I'll give you a great example. A friend of mine in New York bought a building in the 90s that was $10 million. It's a huge fucking building. $10 million. And he bought it with $1 million down, because back then you could only put 10% down, which incredible move. Scary, but incredible move. Why? Because this dude ended up selling that building 10 years later for $100 million. I'm just gonna give you like close numbers so that we understand. That means 10 times more. If the dude would have put $10 million cash into that property, 10 years later, he would have sold for 10 times more. But the dude only put $1 million. That means he made $90 million. He made 90 times his money. Not 10 times, 90 fucking times his money. That's where the real value comes in, where you're buying properties and know how much debt you're gonna come in, and you have an incredible amount of appraising value. You're gonna crush it. I'll give you another dumb example of rent without income, which again, it's dangerous if you don't have the money to sustain it. But when I got my first 918, I paid $400,000 down. The price was $800,000, so I put 50% down, and then the rest I paid off for 5 years every month. And because I only had it for 12 months, I sold the car for over $1.2 million, but let's just call it $1.2 million. So the original price is $800,000. The selling price is $1.2. If I would have paid the $800,000 cash, I would have made 50% of my money, which is $400,000. Out of the 800 to 1.2, that's $400,000. But because I only put $400,000, those extra $400,000 are mine. So I doubled my money in a year by buying a fucking car. So if you know what you're doing with debt, you're gonna make a lot of money on your plays, baby. And this is why it's important to know this. Just for you not to go and make the same mistake that I made, and I went and bought a house for the first time and then realized, fuck, I shouldn't be doing this. I need to create more money so that I know for certain I'm gonna have more money forever. And now I can buy the house because now I understand all these things, and because I have so many revenue sources, and I don't even sweat it. That's where the value in debt is, and I hope you guys understand it and learn something from this video. Let's go on to fucking courses, free courses number 2. I don't know why I'm boxing.